Today we're doing something that I wasn't even really going to make a video on, but I just kind of figured, like, since I'm fixing this anyway, I might as well show, how to do it, because it's really, really simple. I mean, it's not simple, but it's also, like, simple. Like, you're going to need some tools. Almost died. You're going to need, like, a drill, tap and die kit, something to grind, punches, just, like, common, like, machinist tools or whatever, like, machinist hand tools. Just kind of show you how this works here. So, right here, this little pin, it's like a press fit pin that goes in there, and then from the factory they knock it out so it doesn't come out. But you can see that one of them has been broken off, and I just kind of ground it down to get the little piece out of here. So let's just pretend that this is in place. So the wiper spline goes in here, that goes onto the actual the motor arm, and all it does is it just presses across, locks in place, and then it holds it onto the arm. So I'll go over to the truck and I'll just show you how easy these are to remove. Oh, good. Bird crap. So you can see, since I got the windshield replaced, the wiper's too high. It should be like another tick down, right? So you just pull this up, take this little tab right here, pull it up, or you can push on this side, and just wiggle it free, and it comes right off. That's it. And then we can just put it back on, like a spline or two down, and that's too low. So let's just take it off, give it a little spin, put it back on, and that's perfect, right there. Locked back in place, it's done. But now back to this one. Clearly, this is broken. You can buy a new wiper arm, they're fairly cheap. Like, you can pick one of these up for like 40 bucks Canadian, but for how easy these are to fix, and considering that the only like failure point are these little rivets, all we need to do is just take these really, really tiny flat top computer hard drive screws, the coarse thread ones, and we're just gonna match the thread pitch on this, drill a hole, tap it, and we're just gonna screw them back down. And that's it. And while we're in here, we can take this right out, and we can just clean up in here, and we can just brush on some grease. And also, when this wiper arm comes back down, you can see right here is the little key that releases it. So if it's all the way over like this, it's locked in, it's not perfectly round. And if we bring the wiper arm up, you can see that that is now locked in place. So you can't move this at all. And that's what holds it onto the window. So realistically, I only have to do one of these, but because this one has already been pushed out of the way, like it's been kind of like worked in, so it's loose, that's gonna be the next failure point. So I'm just gonna do both of them at the exact same time. Now the reason that you want these flat top ones is so that when this is sweeping across, there's no chance that anything is gonna grab onto these, because it's still just going into like aluminium, so it's not exactly the best hold. And especially in Canada, there's going to be tons of like ice, snow, all of that build up on there, so we don't want to have anything protruding out that ice could grab onto and rip it off, because these are very, very small, so there's not going to be anything that's going to grab onto these. Actually, I'll grab another screw just so I can show you like the other example of what you would more readily be able to find, and the only reason I'm not using that is because it sticks out so far. Okay, so I've grabbed a couple examples here. This is the one that I'm going to be using. This is the other type that I was talking about, with the end that protrudes significantly further out, and that is a fan screw. You don't want one of these. If you're shopping online or something, they may look very similar in the photos, but in reality they are far different. So you do not want a fan screw, you want a hard drive screw, and preferably a flat top one. They also sell round top ones, which, would be fine. Just don't get one of these ones, because that will probably get ripped off or caught on something, and if it gets caught on something, it's just going to rip the entire thing apart, especially in the winter when everything is really cold and brittle. So now to tap the hole for this, I'm going to need a 7/64 drill bit, and I'm going to be using a 6/32 tap, which is crooked. Now when you're cutting into aluminum or any like non-ferrous metal or whatever, you usually want to use kerosene instead of like regular lubricant, but this stuff here, 3-in-1, like multi-purpose oil, this stuff works fantastic on everything. Like, I've never had an issue with this clogging anything up before. So I'm going to be using this existing piece as a guide, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball the gap between here and here, and that'll be where I'm starting with this. But because I'm drilling into aluminum, I don't want anything to grab, so I'm going to be using the first clutch on this. So that's full speed. So we're going to have tons of torque, but a really slow speed. And you just want to hold this, as straight as you can. And you can see that it's not gumming up or anything. So like, this cutting oil is fantastic. Not sponsored, because you gotta say that when you're on YouTube. Now for the depth, I want to go in pretty much the exact height of this screw. So if we just kind of look at it here, it's only about 2 mils. Goes up right to about there. And if we look, we're just a little bit more than halfway done. Now I want to allow just a little bit more clearance at the bottom, just because this is not a finishing tap. It has a little taper on the front, so some of those threads aren't going to be fully developed. but the ones that this will bite into, because it's going to have this bracket as a space, will be fully developed. That's kind of what I'm going after here. Okay, let's clean that up. Add a drop again. Start threading this in. So now we're bottomed out, and we can just take this right out. Test fit. That threads in perfect. Now for preventative maintenance, I'm going to do the other one anyway, just because I'm here, might as well. It's not going to take that long, but realistically, like, this thing's ready to go. Like, I can pop this screw back out, scooch that out of the way, just grab some, like, generic heavy-duty grease, brush some in here, to a very small amount, make sure everything's good. That's gone forever. Oh my goodness. Where did it go? Okay, let's pretend that didn't happen, so we can just toss this back on. It's in the open position and the closed position. And that slides pretty good in there with the grease. And we can take our screw, sets all tight, and you can see that this moves freely. So now with it in the locked position, bring the arm back up, and that is locked in place. So that is 100% fixed now. I'm just going to continue on with this one in place, kind of holding it where it needs to be. I'm going to grind this down. Then I'm going to take this out, pop the whole thing off. I'm just going to repeat the exact same process to the other one, but now the only difference is like the actual fitment. You can make it too tight. You can see it moves perfect, but if we tighten this, and that's it, completely locked in place. I can't move it at all. So we kind of have to like give it a feel. So we have to tighten it just enough that it's going to hold in place, and we can still freely move this, which is where the thread locker comes in. So you could use blue for serviceability or red to make it permanent. Now that's just sitting there from something else that I was doing. I am going to be using red in this. That's it. That's how you fix your wiper arm that came flying off. Now, like I said, I'm going to finish doing this one with the other screw, and I'm also going to take the other one off. And like, even if your wipers aren't broken and you just kind of wanted to beef it up, this is a really good mod that you can do, because this is going to be significantly harder to break than a tiny little aluminum pin. So even if yours aren't broken, this is something worth looking into, because this, at least for like future proofing, this is gonna stay like this for years and years. Doesn't matter how much ice or anything gets built up and grabs onto this thing, this is not gonna break in the same sense that one of these tiny little aluminum pins would. So, I mean, that's realistically it. I'm gonna finish this, I'm gonna do the other one as well, and then I'm just gonna paint them before tossing them back on the truck, because these things are pretty tired. They're the original ones from 2003, so as of right now, these things are literally 19 years old. So, hopefully you found something useful in this video. Like it if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, or, you know, don't do any of it. I'm not telling you what to do. So in the sense of never getting anything done, bird crap, still there, painted them up, tossed them on. The screws are in there, which you can't really see because like they butt up nicely, but I mean that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed.